Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm reviewing how download 2023 went. It's basically it's been a week since download. I kind of wanted to wait a little bit before doing this to make sure I wasn't like doing it in the heat of the moment kind of thing, and plus I had pretty bad heat stroke, so ironically kind of a good idea. So yeah, basically I wanted, the same as I stated in my last review, I want download to flourish and be a good experience for everyone. So although I'm going to be talking about negatives I experienced here, it's basically just because I want it to be the best experience for everyone. And I know not everyone will have had this experience, but this is from our experience and from what I heard from other people's experiences. So that being said, we're going to jump into the positives first, because I believe that's a good place to start. There were lots of water stations, which I believe with the extra amount of people definitely helped. Lots more information hubs, it felt like. We camped directly next to one, if you saw the vlog I did. But yeah, they seem to be dotted around all over the place. Really useful, especially for new people that might have been coming for like the first time. But yeah, generally just really good places to have about for everyone, especially with how many people there are. Another really good thing was that they made more food stalls in the main arena and got rid of some of the merch stalls, so not the official merch stalls but some of the other ones. And I think this was good because with the amount of people that were there this year, definitely helped reduce the queue times. I'll be honest, there was only one time I felt like I was queuing extra long for food, but that was because the food ran out rather than it being not enough places to eat. So I think that definitely helped. Another thing that looked like it was good where they catered to the amount of people that was there this year was the surge barriers. It looked like there was a lot more surge barriers, which obviously helps prevent anything bad from happening in terms of like surges towards the front. So I think that was another good aspect in terms of they prepared for the amount of people that were going to be there this year. So that definitely helped. Speaking of the amount of people there, they also removed the big tower. Like, for anyone that's been to download before, as you're coming down that main hill, there's always their big tower in the middle that had a screen on the back of it, and it meant you couldn't get a direct view of the stage unless you were towards the sides. And they got rid of that this year, and I'm hoping they kind of keep that, to be honest, because that made it so much easier to view it from up the hill. Like, we were able to see clearly Bring Me the Horizon set the entire time because there wasn't a screen there, but they still had the screen on the side and like screens dotted about on those little holes which had like 360 screens on them. So I think all those aspects were really good and helped people see from different angles where they wouldn't have been able to see normally. So that was definitely a lot better. Another aspect that I think was a lot better this year, which I think they definitely took feedback on, was the village. The village layout was so much better. Having the stages opposite ends of the village definitely helped to make it so it was easier to, like, much better flow through the village, much easier to walk around, see the stalls, because last year there was a bunch of, like, basically it was all packed to one end, which meant that if you were that end of the village, it was absolutely packed, and if you want to go to any of the food stalls or anything there, you basically couldn't because it was just crammed. So definitely a much better layout this year, and the fact it was actually intense, which really helps in terms of if it's sunny or raining, because on the last day when I was struggling to get to the car and back, I saw basically most people were sat either in there or in shady spots. So that, I think, having actual tents for the stages in the village as well was really much better as well. And the last positive I want to talk about, which is directly affects us because we always do quiet camping, is the quiet camp wasn't directly next to the village, which I think was definitely beneficial. Obviously it was further away from the arena, but that's fine in itself. But I'm going to discuss some issues that were with that, but it's not specifically because the quiet camp was far away from the village. Yeah, so the positives of that is obviously it's much quieter, whereas last year it was essentially next to the stage. It was like a tree line, and then the quiet camp, so you could hear everything word for word at like 3 a.m. So definitely didn't feel quiet last year, but this year a lot better in terms of that. So yeah, so that's all the positives that I can think of. There's probably others that I might have missed, but this all stuff I think should be replicated. And I heard a lot of people praising the village layout this year, so I think a lot of people were very happy with that. Right, now we look onto the more negative side of things. Now, anyone who travelled in on the Wednesday will know the traffic was dreadful. And I think there's a couple of things that can be done about this. Either, if it's a 4-day festival again, have it open an extra day, so you don't have around 100,000 people nearly turning up on the same day. That made it terrible. We were stuck in one spot for over 2 hours, and I heard people were stuck travelling from 11 a.m. till 11 at night trying to get in there, and I've heard some people had it even worse than that. Honestly, everyone had issues getting in, and I think definitely, if it's 4 days again, definitely needs to be open a day earlier. But also, I think better traffic measures, so from further out. Well, I don't know what they can do logistically about that. Maybe they can get police involved earlier, especially on like the first day when everyone's turning up. I'm not sure if they can do that, but I think something has to be done, because we got stuck at a roundabout, just lorries, cars all blocking each other up, and no one could go anywhere. Like, we were stuck in the same spot for an hour, and there wasn't even a crash. And one year we were on the coach, and there was literally a crash blocking off the motorway, and we still got there quicker than we did by car. So that just shouldn't be happening, really. So when there wasn't even a crash. So yeah, something needs to be done about it. I'm not sure what, unfortunately, but I definitely think traffic control further out, because they do have a lot of traffic control closer to the actual circuit. But yeah, definitely needs to be a bit more widespread, just in case there was as bad issues as this year, because it was pretty terrible, honestly. And another thing was, despite on the back of the car park pass, wait a sec, I think I've actually got it here. It says that the eco and quiet camping were meant to be in the west car park, which would have been fine if we got to the west car park, but we didn't, and we got stuck in the east car park, nearly as far away as possible in the east car park from the quiet camp, which is part of why we had so many issues this year. Like, in the vlog, we had to leave a day early because it was so exhausting getting to and from the car with all your camping stuff, and while it was like 30 degrees, we just physically couldn't do the last day, which means we missed out on a bunch of bands. But look, we did have a good time overall, but just that made it, they definitely need to do allocated parking. I believe they've actually already sorted this, because they've said that you have to pre-book, and also that there's going to be allocated parking this year, which I think is going to be much better if they have the camps closest to each car park allocated. Make it so much better, because we were walking past and we heard people talk about, oh, they're going to this camp, and they'd parked in the west car park, and we were like, well, we got stuck in the east car park, but if we were in the west car park, that would have literally taken us like 10-15 minutes probably to get to the campsite. But the first day it took us like, I think, 2 hours to get there because of dragging all the stuff. So honestly, if that change by itself would have made our experience a lot better, and I'm sure from what we were talking with other people in the quiet camp, pretty much no one we were near or heard people talking in the quiet camp actually got into the west car park. I'm sure there was people, but we talked to a bunch of people that didn't actually get into the west car park. So allocate parking needs to be a thing, because that honestly probably ruined quite a few people's experiences. And I'm not going to say it completely ruined our experience, but it was the biggest factor which caused us to have to leave early, and that made our experience worse, was because we couldn't even experience the last day, and there was a bunch of bands we want to see, like Opel, Slipknot, Ghost, Electrical Boy. I'm hoping they'll have it sorted properly, so that they've got enough space in the west car park for the campsites closest to the west car park, and then the other campsites, there's enough room in the other car parks for them, and that they're close enough to the actual campsites they're meant to be. Another thing in terms of camping, the quiet camp. So I've talked about positives that it's been moved further away. A negative this year is that we only got checked one time when going into the quiet camp. Like, normally you get checked every time you go into the quiet camp, whether you've got a quiet camp wristband. And we only got checked one time the entire weekend while going in there, which means that not only did probably a bunch of people that weren't quiet camping get into the quiet camp, but also that's probably, like, later on towards the end of the weekend, we heard a lot of people like getting shouty and stuff. Well, I did, at least, while trying to get sleep. I heard a lot of people getting really shouty and stuff at like 2 a.m. And I think that might have been because it was people general camping. And I've got nothing wrong with general camp and stuff, but we specifically go there so that everyone's on the sort of same vibe of we want to sleep after midnight, so not to make too much noise. But yeah, normally every other year I've been quiet camping, which is from 2018 except the pilot till now, we've been checked every time we go in. So I'm not sure why this year they just sort of neglected that completely, except once. I don't know what happened there. So another big negative, not in my opinion, not as bad as the car park situation, but still pretty bad, was how packed it was. Now, it was, I think a lot of people were complaining about this. We heard people literally saying that they're never coming back. So, and I'll be honest, if anyone the main two issues, the travel to the campsite because of the car parking issues and how packed it was, I said in the vlog, if that was my first experience of download, I probably wouldn't be coming back every year like I have been, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we did get kind of unlucky this year, but if we experienced both that issue and how packed it was, I'd be kind of like, what's the point? Because there was points where the second stage at any point on the weekend, pretty much unseeable, unless you got there super early, I guess. But any band we tried to see, even ones we got there pretty early for, couldn't even get close. At one point we wanted to see Ask Alexandria. We got there pretty early, completely packed to the point where you couldn't see. The closest we could see was near the Ferris wheel, which was like really far to the right and probably closer to the entrance than the actual stage. So, and we also had to do the same for Evanescence, Motionless in White, 3 Days Grace. I mean, you just couldn't get close to the second stage. The Avalanche stage, the one band we wanted to see in there, well, we wanted to see Electrical Boy, but as I said, we weren't there for Sunday. Couldn't even get into the tent for Punk Rock Factory and the Dogtooth stage. Wanted to get in there, and that looked absolutely packed at every point as well. And yeah, I think everyone kind of agreed that was just too many people for the size of it. Either the space, the area needs to be expanded if there's going to be that many people again, because I'll be honest, that made everything just less enjoyable for everyone. Like, that wasn't just an us issue, that was everyone kind of felt that, like, not being able to actually see bands even when you get in there early, that really shouldn't be the case. Either less tickets sold, like, I understand Download needs to make money and stuff, they're a company at the end of the day, I completely get that. I'm not saying they shouldn't, because otherwise there wouldn't be a festival to go to, right? But I heard people talk about how it felt greedy and stuff. So I think either they need to tone down how many tickets they sell, or they need to expand the area. Like, I think that second stage needs to be in an area where there's slightly more room, because that was just way too crammed at any point. Like, I'll try and insert a video here. I think I took it in the vlog where I just showed the crowd around, and literally from the very back where the shops were to the second stage down to the main arena, just constant people everywhere. And I've never seen any year like it personally. Like, normally how many people you see there is how many people are down at the main arena for the headliner, but that was just constantly throughout the entire weekend. So yeah, probably rambled a bit there. Another point is that there was kind of no shade anywhere, especially towards the end of the festival. It started getting a lot hotter, and there wasn't any shade in the main arena at all. Like, I really struggled with that heat, and I felt ill for days afterwards because of how hot it was, mainly because of, as I said, the travelling to the camp and back in really hot weather. But in the arena, there was literally nowhere. Like the only two places you could actually get shade were in the Avalanche and Dogtooth tents. But the problem is, because it was so packed this year, you couldn't even get in those 90% of the time anyway. So there definitely needs to be some just general sort of shaded areas put up. I mean, it would be good in case it's raining anyway, so it gives people somewhere dry to go. But especially in the heat, I'm sure there was quite a few people that probably got like really bad heat or sunstroke where there was just no escape from the sun the entire time they're in the arena. That is something that they've had in previous years. I'm not sure why they didn't this year. Maybe it's because it was so packed, but even so, it shouldn't be sold to the point where they can't have shade up for people, because then that starts getting like dangerous if people can't like get out of the sun. So yeah, I think definitely need some shaded areas put up again, because I know they definitely had some in previous years. I'm not sure why they didn't this year, especially as it was going to be hot. So the next negative is that it was this isn't for everyone. This is personally for me. Is that when it was advertised as 4 days, you kind of expected 4 headliners, and I like Metallica. I wanted to see Metallica, but I kind of would rather have had a different headliner that I didn't even want to see, because I think it varies it more. It gives more people chance to headline and that sort of thing. I just personally think it should have been 4 headliners, because when it says 4-day festival and it's like a special event, I genuinely thought it's going to be 4 headliners, and I was so excited for that. So when I saw that Metallica was playing twice, I'll be honest, it was quite disappointing, as much as I want to see Metallica. Again, if people who are bigger fans of Metallica than I am will definitely have loved it a lot more. But I don't know, I feel like it caters to a wider audience if you have 4 headliners as well. So I don't know, that one's probably more controversial ones, but I think all the previous points still stand relatively strong. So that was the negatives, things I think that should be avoided in the future. Obviously they're doing 3 days again next year, which honestly after this year I'm kind of grateful for. I was so looking forward to this year, but because I'll be honest that we with how far we had to travel from that East car park to there, we were tempted that if they announced it was going to be 4 days again, to maybe not even book the tickets, because we've had a better experience every other year, including Download in 2019, than we did this year, and it's a shame. It's the 20th anniversary. It should have been the best things about the festival. I'm kind of going into like a summary section here. I've kind of finished the suggestions. I'm just sort of elaborating a bit more, but yeah, I think it should have been a celebration of everything good about the festival, but it was really overshadowed by the issues we faced. Personally, like, we could not enjoy it as much as normal, and I feel I kind of felt guilty that was my mum's first experience, because it felt so much worse than a normal year. Like, that going from being absolutely exhausted because you were as far away as possible from the campsite and the car, to then having it more packed than I've ever seen it. It kind of wasn't the experience that I was hoping to bring her into. Like, that isn't the Download I've experienced. So yeah, I don't know, just every other year we've been that had much better experience, and that's what I'm saying. 2019, our tent leaked, we had puddles, our clothes were not dry the entire weekend, and we did almost leave early then, and yet we still stayed and still had a better time in that year than this year, just to give you a sort of. And that was nothing that they had control over. Like, the tent leaking, they didn't have control over, and the fact that like our clothes got completely soaked because of that, nothing they could have control over. Whereas the issues this year, they have a lot more control over, like the overcrowding, the car park situation, the traffic situation. That a lot of the issues I've said, they've got a lot more control over. So that's why I feel like this is not the worst. Like, we still enjoyed ourselves, but it's the worst experience for a Download I've had personally. And I say it really is a shame, because it's the 20th anniversary. I was hoping for the best of Download kind of thing. So yeah, it's unfortunate I've got to leave it on a kind of somber note like that, but that I'm just saying what our experience was. We've still booked our tickets for next year. We're still going to enjoy going next year, but I'm hoping they sort a lot of these issues out, because it is the worst download we've experienced, unfortunately. And as I said, not everyone's experience is going to be like that. Some people would have got into the car parks closest to their campsite. They'll also have not had to leave early and things like that because of getting really bad heat stroke because of how far away they were and such. And some people might not be as bothered by how crowded it was, but I did hear both a lot of people complaining because of how bad the traffic was. I heard a lot of people complaining about how too overcrowded it was, and I heard a lot of people complaining how ridiculous it was that the car parks weren't allocated because people from other campsites were parking in the West car park when that was meant for our camps. So yeah, the allocated parking will sort that out. But that was a review of Download 2023. Hoping 2024 is going to be better. Mum is coming again next year, so let's hope it's a better experience for her as well. But yeah, let me know how your download went. Let me know your positives and negatives, what you agree and don't agree with in terms of what I've said, because you might have had a completely different experience to me. But yeah, I want it to be the best festival for everyone, basically. So yeah, just let me know. But thank you for watching, everyone. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.